Hello, everybody. Welcome to another fresh episode of the MA4ALL podcast. Um, Probably already can hear it, or not hear it in this case. I am here by myself. My co-host Spear, has something he needed to take care of tonight, and in an effort to not postpone this and have us, you know, have a cascade of episodes to watch, I decided to take it upon myself to ruin the show. I decided to take it upon myself to review these two episodes that I have here. Just to take it off of him, and so he can, get caught up on whatever he needs to get caught up on, whether that be work or just, sleep. He seemed really stressed. So, thoughts and prayers go out to you, Spirit, if you ever do hear this. Um, but Yeah, we are here to review the most recent episode of My Hero Academia, along with an episode of Dragon Prince. We're going to do this like we normally do, just without Spear here to bounce ideas off of. With that also being said, this might be a shorter or less enthusiastic episode of the podcast. I apologize in advance, because the energy probably won't really be there all from me, but we'll see what happens. We're gonna review the episode of Dragon Prince, episode 4 of season 4, and then we're gonna move on to My Hero, and that's how we'll end this shebang. So, without further ado, let's start talking about. There's nothing to say and updated on the podcast. I'm releasing episodes when I remember to. With that, the upload might be janky in terms of like whenever I do upload one, because it's gonna be an episode to YouTube, and then apparently Anchor gets them now from me the day of the next episode, like live broadcast again. We usually go live 9:30 Mondays at 9:30 p.m. Something happens, and then we'll move the cast. It really won't matter to people watching this and later on in the future, because these episodes have already been out. However many we have for season 3. Same thing with the season 2 and season 1s. Well, I think season 2 is available everywhere you can get podcasts. Season 1, however, is just a YouTube solo. I unfortunately I could go out of my way to download every episode and get them uploaded, and I might in the future when there's some downtime. But there's just a lot of episodes, and they're mostly just Dragon Ball Super. I want to say, we didn't start reviewing My Hero until like middle of season, last year, beginning of season 2. I want to say, so like there aren't any video episodes of us reviewing the first season. And I haven't thought of a way to fix that. Though we're very far into My Hero at this point, I think our opinions of season 1 are, moot at this point, because we like the series. We're still watching it. 6 seasons in. I guess without further ado, we're not talking about My Hero first. We're talking about Dragon Prince, and I guess episode 4, Through the Looking Glass. This episode, I'm gonna start off like this episode was very interesting. A lot of story kind of starts getting unfolding here. There's a lot of what appears to be a lot of foreshadowing. We learn about Erebos' backstory, which is not gonna be more intrigued about Star Elves specifically. We get a little bit of like character interactions between the cast, Callum, and is it Rava? That's somebody else. I'm trying to think of the moon elf's name. Why am I blanking on this? I shouldn't be blanking on this. No, I'm gonna look this up real quick, so I'm not just blanking on it here. Is it Reina? Rayla. Okay, that's a we get interactions between Rayla and Callum. Callum is still doing that whole "you left me on my birthday" shtick. You can tell he's very upset by it, which he has the right to be. Um, a lot of things happen here. Like we start seeing things kind of start like panning out. Uh, you see, shoot, well, I'm gonna call him Bevan. It's not Bevan. You see that after the fight with the between the the sky elf and then the terra elf, Viren's daughter comes back down to confirm that she's got the staff. They're ready to do the ritual. So going off, and we see a little bit more of the conflict between the humans and the elves that we were talking about last podcast. I want to say that was very eye-opening. The humans are very, and at least the human woman we saw here with the Terra Elf trying to, give a ritual for his mother or a funeral, and the human wasn't having it. Before here, we actually see the Queen of the Dragons is trying to head off because of the message that was given that the fallen star is going to come back, and she's looking for her son. Zim ends up flying off somewhere, so which is kind of weird because you see him for a few seconds as he's seeing the message, and he backs off between his mother's legs. Didn't know he left that fast, but I guess he could. The king, Ezra, finds Zim again, brings him back, and actually is encouraged to leave. This is the other thing that apparently Spirit was kind of hinting at, was that it wasn't if he was gonna leave, which is very intriguing in of itself. That okay, Ezra along with the gang, Callum, Rayla, I'm gonna call him Groot. It's not Bait. In the new plushie, leave the kingdom, leaving the council in charge. So I guess this is what Jock meant by, and I think he hinted at something else that's going on, and I'm probably gonna have to watch that episode once this podcast is over to see what's going on. I'll do something caught up with him. Well, actually, I think I'm still 2 episodes behind. Huh. Maybe he's been throwing things in my direction I actually had not been paying attention to, and they're kind of just coming up in these episodes. Like, I'm actually impressed that he's withheld that much, and I still managed to be that dumb to not pick up on it. But the Queen Dragon leaves with her son and Ezra on her back. The other dragon that comes with her ends up about to leave a Callum and Soren on his back, but Callum's like, we need to go grab this mirror, and a little bit of a gag kind of pops up where he's like ready to go. He's not really ready to go. It's kind of funny. Not really much to say there. That they go and grab the mirror and they fly off, and then we come back to the human and the elf trying to perform a ceremony for his mother, and again with the whole tribal thing, tribes having ceremonies and rituals that they perform. The human not actually being sensitive to this, so much so that she ends up, she says the flame is dangerous. The elf is saying that this is for a actually calls it a superstition, so that's even more insensitive right there. He's already really pissed off. Essentially this escalates to her, saying, you're not gonna put out the flame, I'm gonna put out the flame. Ironically, there was a bucket of water within arm's reach of her in the flame. chucks the water onto the flame, you know, extinguishes it. This causes a conflict to break out between the elf and her. The elf burns her hands in rage, and then the guards, who are weirdly enough not doing their job, I'm guessing, all hear this commotion, come up to see what's going on, find out the human's hands are burned, and then we cut away from that after the elf decides to do a bowing motion. I can already see where this is going. Sorry, 1 minute. Okay. Oh yeah, the race thing, or the human insensitivity to it all, you know, kind of just breaks out, and then we cut away. I know where this is going. We're gonna have a situation where it is like, you're not sensitive to our needs, but you're endangering our lives. This is just there's no way that this encampment's gonna last. We already are having that issue between humans and elves. We can already see that gonna they're not gonna be able to cooperate with each other. It's not right now. Probably some point in the future, which is going to come real soon, they're going to need to be able to work together. And then we cut back from that scene. We don't see what happens with that until like probably next episode, I assume. But then we cut back to Ezra, Zim, and the Mother Dragon, and we get some information about what's really going on. We found out that Erebos is involved in a lot of treason, which is what led him to being imprisoned. We find out he's been responsible for a lot of wars, being the kingpin behind the shadows. You know, it sounds kind of almost familiar to like in real life, where there's somebody speaking in somebody's ear, telling them how to act. We had an elf, like there was wars going on, and there was an elf trying to sedate all this and bring peace to the land. She went missing almost immediately after that happened, and let's just say that, you know, a lot of things happened to it was soon found out that a star elf was responsible for it all, and apparently the star elf are really powerful to the point where it's said that they've been descended from the heavens. Now, usually heavenly beings in any fiction are shown to be really powerful, so powerful in fact that they can't be defeated, from what I can remember. But the one thing they do share all in common is that they have, you think they can't be defeated. So they have a lot of, they have a lot of personality effects. We first find out this information from the Mother Dragon all at once, and it's kind of a shocking to me. Like, okay, this makes sense now. We're getting more information about Erebos now. Shocking information that we could probably already tell based on the fact that he was in a mirror that he couldn't get out. After all that information is like dropped, well, some of it anyway, cut back to these people's names. I think these characters' names down. It's like Varen and Claudia's boyfriend have a heart-to-heart about what he had to do to save Claudia, and Varen says, like, sometimes in the name of love you do things that you end up hating yourself for in the end. If Jock was here, he'd probably say that he doesn't really believe what Varen's saying. Like, I want to believe the best in him. I really do, even though he did a lot in the name of protect. I think what he was doing, he did in the name of he thought he was helping. In reality, he probably wasn't truly, quote unquote, helping as much as getting what he wanted. But also found that Erebos, a lot of what Erebos did was also manipulate magic wielders. This makes what happened with Varen make a lot more sense. Apparently Erebos can manipulate the minds of magic users, or at least taunt them and giving them what they want in exchange for them helping him. As we see, the Erebos is very conniving, very manipulative, able to weave out the deepest dark desires of anybody he talks to. Unfortunately, Varen was was a bystander to all this. With that, we cut to them making it to the Storm Spire, where the Storm Elf died. Well, the Sky Elf died. They all mourn his death, his passing. And then when Callum makes it, he brings up that the queen sees that he has the mirror, and she's like, "Oh, you have Ava Mendham's looking glass," and essentially like he gets informed, everybody gets informed of everything, and what happens is that the queen decides to cast a storm spell over the mountain to allow them to look into the mirror to see where Erebos is. They do this. They see Erebos on the other side. Erebos is standing looking outside his prison, I'm guessing, and apparently he's been standing there for a while, because when they look through the mirror, Erebos turns around like, huh, and Erebos then possesses Callum. It starts, just taunting everybody, saying, "Well, my reckoning is coming." Erebos probably knows what's really going on in the outside world, because as this is happening, as he's possessed Callum, Claudia is now releasing whatever it is from the chrysalis that he wanted them to release. It's at first appeared to me he looked like a golem creature, but it had butterfly wings, and it definitely didn't seem small enough. So whatever it is that they needed to release has been released. Also, it's another bit I glossed over. During that backstory, we learned that once they found out that Erebos was the mastermind behind all the evil, what's happening in the world, several archdragons, I think 5, all imprisoned him in another world, using the mirrors as a way to look in on his imprisonment. Each dragon held a piece to the real location of where he was imprisoned, but sounds like to me that the prison is somewhere in that world, and Erebos doesn't know this, which is scarier to me. So he's actually, I guess he's been imprisoned in the world. He just doesn't know exactly where in the world he is. But as this is happening, as the chrysalis has been awakened, Erebos lets go of Callum after he says, like, "I like my coming back is inevitable," and he just sits down. As he sits down, he breaks the mirror. Thus, we lose the only way that we can contact him. At least the heroes can, and that's where the episode ends. This entire episode was just one big plot mover. The plot mover. It was a very good episode. It really amped up the ante. It showed us what's going on, what we're trying to stop. Showing that Erebos is just as powerful as he was. He's able to be. He's at least 100 years old, but I'm pretty sure he's older than that. How old? Well, I have no idea. And again, also with the whole, I guess, message of willing to do what you want, willing to do anything for your loved ones, kind of feeds into the whole Claudia thing, where she did things that she didn't think she's capable of, but she did it in the name of love. I guess that's it that I can talk about, at least by myself. Again, if Spear was here, I'm pretty sure he have a list of things he would want to say. That's the cost we have when only half the duo is here. So I guess with that, we could transition over. Again, this didn't take long at all. We don't have ideas to bounce off of another person, and this is what you get. But okay, with that, we can move on to My Hero Academia. This episode of My Hero Academia was really good. A lot happened. Also, a lot didn't happen. The episode essentially begins with Bakugo taking the hit for Deku, and the last thing him saying to Deku is that don't go trying winning this by yourself, which is an odd statement, in my opinion, from Bakugo, because I'm not gonna rehash what I said last episode, review episode of the podcast, but a lot of what Bakugo's done to this point doesn't really match some of his actions. Again, another action he's performing that doesn't really match up to what he's been outrightly spilling out to Deku and Vitriol. So this is interesting. Shigaraki has now been taken over by One for All, and as he's about to take the power from Deku, they enter the overworld. They enter like the inner world of the quirks, and we learn a lot. We learn a lot about One for All here, at least as much as we kind of already knew, but a tiny bit we didn't. For one, it looks like, I guess, One for All can in fact force the quirk out of Deku. Didn't know that. Apparently wasn't at full power inside Shigaraki's body. We also learned that apparently quirks, apparently there's a phenomenon where, if a transplanted organ, we'll get back to My Hero, but this is kind of relevant. It's a phenomenon in I guess the medical world where a transplanted organ can in fact change something about the person that the organ is transplanted into. And this is the whole idea that cells and stuff like that have memories stored within them. Cut back to My Hero, because they bring this up in the anime, that as an important thing is that quirks might have something within them, an organ, quote unquote, or a cell makeup that allows them to carry on the theoretically allows them to carry on the personalities of whoever it was attached to. We find out apparently because the unique quirk, the unique specificities and unique abilities of the One for All and All for One, his abilities, because they can give and take, because they're able to do this, it's kind of like a transplant, and they carry it and they take a piece of the person they're taking from or giving to. And in One for All's, in All for One's case, One for All's case, when the quirk is being passed on, a piece of the previous user goes with the quirk into the next person, which is intriguing, but also kind of begs the question: why didn't a piece of One for All Might go into Deku? Unless there is a piece of him in there, we don't know it yet. Because Deku was like the 9th user, because One for All Might was 8. So weird that he isn't in there though. It is really weird. Why isn't he in there? Because we saw him one time before, and it was very early on in the series, like season 2, during the tournament. There's a version of a really shriveled up All Might in that cluster, but we never see it again. Though I guess one thing that these people in the quirk share is that they're all dead. All Might isn't, and maybe that's the thing that's different, is that maybe All Might wouldn't show up in that quirk unless he's dead. Unlike One for All, where he's still alive, but a piece of his consciousness is still inside the quirk that got transplanted into Shigaraki, which is why he's there and conscious as well. And they're having this conversation about the giving and taking the quirks, and One for All is like having a blast. All for One's having a blast. He's just laughing, enjoying everything that's happening. He manages to introduce Tomura Shigaraki to his grandmother. Apparently she meets him for the first time. Finds out that this is the son of her son. Don't know what's going on in her mind at this time. Shigaraki, as he's trying to fight for control over his mind and body, ends up nearly decaying his master. With his hatred to take over that world that they're both in, Deku and him, only for Nana Shimura to show up and then block him. And then as it's happening, the first user shows up and starts deploying, I guess, his love or whatever, his shield, and this is enough to keep Shigaraki at bay. Now all this is happening, All for One is saying that, I'm finally reaching my goal here. I can take his power. We're learning a lot here, which is interesting in and of itself. The struggle, I guess, that's going on inside Deku and Shigaraki right now. Quirks trying to take other quirks, quirks trying to repel other quirks. It's interesting, like what's going on here. is very interesting to me. I never I didn't. It's getting weirder and weirder with with this world and how superpowers work. So much so where she, we get another monologue from All for One, pretty much calling Deku stupid or weak. Well, not stupid, calling him weak. For needing to be protected by others because he can't control his own abilities. He's got this wonderful power, but he's unable to use it to protect others. You see that this actually hurts and wounds Deku very deeply. So deeply, in fact, that he's unable to do much, and you can tell he's kind of resigning himself, only for the first user One for All to say that we are choosing to stay within this boy. This actually kind of weirds and weirds kind of like ask him, like it kind of brings One for All, like All for One down to like you're choosing to stay within him. Interesting wording that he decided to use there is like, and also Shigaraki also brings up another phrase. He keeps on saying that the only thing that never went All for One's way was One for All. Kind of is interesting. It's like I wonder if there is a way that One for All, because of where it came from, it's still able to resist, if it doesn't want to be taken. Like again, the whole idea that quirks might have this memory situation going on where they carry a personality trait with them when they move on is cool and interesting in its own way. Kind of makes you wonder, I guess, what's the true nature of this quirk? Is it a curse like Bakugo says, or is it a gift? I guess we'll find out as the nature of One for All like kind of like gets revealed. Because now I'm actually curious, like, is One for All its own entity? Or is it several entities? I guess we'll eventually find that out at some point. After their little clash, and then the clash ends, Deku and Shigaraki, after the explosion that happened when, One for All for One was trying to take One for All, both Shigaraki and Deku get jettisoned from the blast in opposite directions. It looks like Shigaraki is almost down for the count. We really won't know that based on the the preview of next episode. He isn't down for the count yet. Deku might be, because Deku's quirk, not only did he keep it, it turned off. So I guess Deku is like out for the count right now. But other than that, like not much happens there. We actually cut away to Gigantomachia's rush to see. I don't know why I did the finger running motion, because you can't see it. I don't know why I did that. I'm crazy. You come back to the Gigantomachia as he's rushing towards the scene, and on his back we see the villains. That we got to know Toga twice. No, that's twice. Twice is dead. Toga, the lizard dudes. I almost want to call him stripper, but it's not his name. Lizard guy. We see Dobby, the long-haired dude from the Revolution is there. Compressed Man's there as well, and they're having their own conversation about like what's going on. Like we have the upper hand, all kind, because they don't know they're on their back. All the heroes don't know this. The heroes are trying to evacuate the city as Gigantomachia is rushing through cities. There are several cities by this point that have been demolished. There's a lot of damage. I don't know what's going to happen at the end of all this. So there's a lot of damage being done to these cities. Buildings are being broken down by this guy. It's ridiculous. We have a situation where Toga wants to confront, wanted to confront Sue and Uraraka about like what their ultimate goal was. She jumps off of him to see this, because like they find out that Uraraka and Sue are somewhere nearby. Sue ends up having to leave the scene to carry a couple of a couple of civilians out of the way. There's a civilian lady that says that, can you help me go get my husband? Uraraka says, I'll go help. Rushes into the alley, which I guess at the starting of that doesn't lead to good things if I'm having to run down an alleyway. But Uraraka does this while thinking, to find out that that lady is Toga in a disguise. And Toga disappears inside of a building, inside of a house that has a lot of lucky cats in it. I'm guessing the lady that she pretended to be lived there. I can only assume that, because she had to get the blood from somewhere. Either that or she had the blood on her to begin with. Who knows? Uraraka kind of assumed that she got the blood somewhere nearby to do that, but who knows? I'm not sure how old the blood can be for her to drink it, but that's never been that's never been stated to be a limit. Now I'm thinking about it, because you can store blood and then use it for later. Yeah, so I guess that whole like they're being telling to how long the blood can stay fresh is stupid. Okay, essentially Uraraka and Toga confront each other. Actually, Toga gets to jump into Uraraka, pins her to the ground, and starts asking, "What do you want to do with me?" And Uraraka just explains that she wants to save as many people as she can, and if you're gonna get the way in, and you're gonna get in my way, I'm gonna capture you. Tosses her off her into a door, and it touches the ground. So I can only assume she's about to activate her quirk to capture her. And that is the end of the episode there. Not much to say that this episode was really good. I'm gonna say both episodes of these shows that we've been watching so far are really good. My Hero kind of took some time to, well, along with Dragon Prince, took some time to get there. With My Hero, though, we're already kind of in the middle of everything. They're just trying to get us back up to speed. Dragon Prince had a harder time because Dragon Prince was like off the air for 2 years. But episode 4 is right now we're at the halfway point, because this is season 9 episodes. We're at the halfway point and things are really starting to ramp up on both things. Though in My Hero's case, things are ramping down. Right now we're dealing with the confrontation between Uraraka and Toga. I wonder how fast that's gonna end. Seeing in the preview that Shigaraki's still up and moving, I guess still being possessed, I'm guessing. I don't know what that's gonna entail. You don't see who he's fighting, as far as I could tell. Endeavor is like, there's a lot of heroes that are just like very much like down for the count. Some of them more down, like Hawks has been neutered for lack of a better term. So is Endeavor, unless Endeavor is able to cool off enough to get off another prominence burn. I don't suspect that Shigaraki will allow him to do that though. Eraserhead's lost his leg. It's some of his face. A lot of heroes died, I assume. Ida, also that's for Ida is on his way to there. I forgot to mention that during all this message, Gigantomachia was heading towards there. Ida and one of the big three, along with a couple other heroes that float, are like rushing to their aid to let Endeavor know the situation. A lot of the other heroes are evacuating the cities as fast as they can. Unfortunately, as big as he is, he's able to move really quickly. They actually bring attention to this too, that he moves too dang fast for how big he is, but I don't think that really matters to him. Though as big as he is, like, I guess he's not really running as much as he's jogging. I would hate to see him actually running, because like, I mean, you're really big, your step is going to be very wide. So I mean, if anything, he could probably clear several cities if he really wanted to. Also, Gigantomachia also senses that both his masters are at the scene where he's rushing to. So like, it's interesting that he can sense two souls. So again, it kind of feeds into the whole idea that there is definitely a soul within these quirks. But I guess they're going to be seen if the quirk that initially had the soul was transferred out. So if anything, it's really not even a realistic situation. Like, I mean, in that world, if you're not aware of the quirks of One for All and All for One, quirk transference should not be physically possible. So the whole idea of transferring a piece of yourself to somebody else is like theoretically unheard of. But that's interesting in and of itself. The whole idea of like personalities being parts of your personality being transferred to another person. That'd be interesting, like to have a piece of you in another person to be able to live on. I guess in theory, it's like the idea of transferring a lung or kidney. You know, you may be dead, your body, but that kidney gets to live on to somebody else, and a piece of you gets to live on through them as well. Yeah, I guess the whole idea of like transporting body parts is kind of cool. Kind of like in its own stuff, its own version of immortality. Well, as far as long as you know that person that got your body part is still living. I mean, so it's not really immortality. It's just extending your life, extending their life through your life. I'm guessing is the best way to put it. There's not much more I can say. I told you this is gonna be a short one. Even shorter than I anticipated. Next time we come back, we'll be definitely talking about episode 5 and of Dragon Prince. We'll be picking up back where we left off, which was in fact when the chrysalis woke up. That's gonna be interesting. And then my hero gonna be picking up back. I guess first thing we're gonna probably see is the Araka and Toga thing. Toga's probably gonna get away because I don't suspect Toga's gonna like kill Araka, considering she says she loves her. So she'll probably just try to get some of her blood and then make a quick getaway. Because Toga is weird like that. But the intro has Toga with a bandana, so I can only assume that maybe they're intending to remove Toga from the situation. We're gonna probably learn a lot about Toga in these next episode. I'm probably pretty sure. Well, a lot more about her actually. We learned one of her hang-ups was that she was being told how to act. People thought her parents thought her smile was creepy, and that set her off down the road. That she wanted to be other people. She didn't want to be seen. You know, people will leave her alone and she looked like an innocent schoolgirl, which is weird in and of itself. I guess I really shouldn't be trying to extend this, so I don't have much more to say. That's what happens when you try to spit, everything out of your brain at like 100 miles per hour. When you normally have somebody else here to slow you down. Okay, this question of the week. Whenever this goes out, what do you think of the direction of Dragon Prince and the direction of My Hero? Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below of the YouTube video. There probably won't be a questionnaire on the Spotify thing. If you can find a way to leave a comment on the Game Hunter 09's Twitter page, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you all for if anybody was listening to this, thank you for sticking with me through this awkward period right now. He should be back next week as long as he isn't still busy again. I essentially gave him the week off so he can get caught up on his work, because it sounded like he needed to get a lot of work done. So with that, 58 minutes, world's shortest podcast. I am so sorry. Normally I have a person to bounce off and he can fill in with some silliness because I'm a straight man. It was just painfully obvious, but guess I'm not gonna hold you guys up. Short podcast this week. See you guys next week for the next 2 episodes. See you guys then. Bye.